and welcome, brothers and bralettes, to the first episode of the Big Baby Bear podcast. We are going to be talking today about Shelly. This is probably one of the easiest brawlers to learn how to use and to be able to use. And today we're just going to talk about it real quick because, well, I don't know. First episode, first brawler in the game. I love Shelly. She is probably up there with Nita and Crow with me, personally, because she is such well-rounded. She has good attack. She has excellent defense. She's a shotgun brawler, which is probably some of the funnest, just casual play type of game. Easy to use. She has excellent attack, excellent defense. She's good in controlling the center or even just the sides. She has pretty good health. Surprisingly, she's not terrible. She's very good at countering tanks, which she's a lot more reliable when it comes to it, opposed to, say, a Spike, who has kind of low health. And compared to tanks, which do a ton of damage, with her, she has more health. She does a ton of damage. She kind of is a tank in and of herself. So she kind of does counter herself sometimes. I love going into a match, having a Shelly, going up against another Shelly, and I have my super ready, and my opponent doesn't. It's so satisfying. The super is probably the most important part of Shelly, and I think it really teaches new viewers how to actually use supers and how they are supposed to help you, opposed to Anita, whose super takes forever to charge, which is more once in a while. But I think Nita super is, with the bear, is kind of also, you get kind of an extra one, so it makes sense why it would take so long. Whereas with Shelly's, it's kind of real quick because she just does so much damage, that it's very useful. It also has a resetting effect for brawlers like Daryl or Frank, who their super stops, especially against Frank. She's very good against Frank. The only thing you have to really do against Frank is get close to him. And if you're Frank trying to counter a Shelly, you just got to keep your distance, stay away from the bushes, typically, unless you know that she's not in there, and so then you take control of the bushes. Bush camping is probably one of the easiest ways to get, to win matches with Shelly, but you have to be careful, because if you do not have your super ready and a bull comes up and he's right on top of you, he's definitely going to get you. So sometimes you have to be a little careful about that. I don't know. She's one of my favorite. She's basically has the health of almost a tank, but she reloads really fast, which is not typical. She does a lot of damage, especially up close, and even whenever you're at a distance, her range can help with that. Like with a bull, he doesn't have all that much range; it's all up close. But with Shelly, she has that range, which means she can pick off and try and keep opponents' health low if they try running away from her. Similar to Terra or Crow in that sense, because just the pellets just go and hit him. I don't know how many times I've been able to defeat my opponent just because I keep on picking off their health with Shelly or with Crow, just because of that range. It's very useful. I don't know, she's got amazing skins as well. My favorite is probably the Star Shelly skin, just kind of to flex. I've been, playing for a while, but I think her witch skin is probably one of the nicest skins in the game. It's up there with Dumpling Daryl and stuff. It's such a nice skin, or Shiba Nita. It's very nice. It makes sense why it costs so much. 150 gems, but even her Bandita Shelly is probably one of the nicest cheap skins. It's it's one of those skins you get just to change. Some skins Spicy Dynamite or Shiba Nita, you get to like status, or Phoenix Crow or something. It's like, oh yeah, I have so much that I can actually buy this expensive skin. But she has a cheap, 30 skin that looks good. Like it's a nice skin. Like I would have got it if I didn't already have a skin for Shelly, but it's not a lot, especially you know brawlers once they get up there. Like Mortis, I don't know if Mortis has a skin like that costs less than 80. Um, yeah, but Mortis has is a harder skin to get a hold of. It's a mystic, so typically you'll unlock him after you've gotten some stuff. Crow, I don't think has one in under 80. Some of the more rare brawlers don't have the cheaper skins, which makes sense. The more you progress in the game, the more you're willing to pay. But it's just kind of nice sometimes to have that. And I know I definitely enjoy it. Like I have skins for my Shelly, my Nita, my Colt, my Bull. They all have cheap, nice skins, but they still look good. I guess Bull his is like 80 or something. I got it at a discount. Usually I wait to do that because it saves gems. And like I'm gonna get it anyway, so why not? Um, but it's just a fun thing, fun addition, and I think it's nice. It's nice. Um, uh, Whenever it comes to like game modes or maps, typically you want closer range maps because not only is Shelly more powerful on closer range maps, but she's also a tank counter. She counters tanks and stuff like that, and typically tanks go in closer range maps. If it's something like Cavern Churn, like sometimes like there'll be a Dynamite or a Rico that'll like be really going at it, but most of the time, especially at lower trophies, it's just basically all um bulls and Daryls and I don't know, sometimes there's a spike here and there, but I mean it's a lot of just tanks. There's some BBs, or other Shellys. And so she's a good one to go in and just be able to take it out. Um, One strategy that I like to use is just controlling the bushes. You got a map that has a lot of bushes in the middle, or like has them spread out along the sides. One thing I'll usually do is go into the bushes. This is like talking about Showdown or Lone Star or something. I'll go into the bushes and then just wait for brawlers to come to me and then just take them out. You'll have to be good at juking, especially blindly, because they're shooting blindly into the. Typically, on higher trophies, they'll check bushes, and so they'll shoot blindly into the bushes, and you have to like be able to guess where they'll do it. But after like 10 plus matches, like you'll get used to it. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out the patterns that people do, like the Colts and uh, versus Brock's, like one shot versus multiple. Um, and sometimes it's kind of difficult because you got a spread shot, like say you got Pam coming at you, and she just sprams the entire area, so you might want to hide behind a wall or something. Uh, she can sometimes be a little tough against more than one brawler at once. That can sometimes be a little difficult to fight, where like compared to like a if you have like uh, like a Poco or an EMZ or something, someone who has that spread attack and that can like recuperate quickly. Like so, Poco has his heal, and so say he's got two people coming at him. He can hit them both at once. Sometimes he can reposition yourself so that they're right behind each other instead of being in the middle. That's probably the biggest thing whenever it comes to showdown in general. And Lone Star is positioning yourself so you're not in the middle and like going like moving away so that they're lining up for you to attack the person in the middle and then the person beyond that. Um, that's just a general tip for showdown in general. Uh, Especially Lone Star. I don't know, man. It's Lone Star is tough sometimes because I'll be like, oh, we gotta get kills, and I'll forget like, oh, I need to actually have strategy, and so sometimes it can be difficult. I know a few days ago I was just playing and I just couldn't get a win. I went all the way down to some of my lowest trophy brawlers and I still couldn't get a win, and it was just tough. It wasn't fun. I definitely don't recommend Shelly or any real close range brawlers on that map unless you know what you're doing, which I'm sure uh, a lot of people who do that actually do, um, but I definitely don't. Um, but Shelly is good in gym grab. She's good aggro, keeping control, keeping like enemy brawlers away from the middle or from coming around and flanking from the side or something. She's good at like keeping them back. And that's how I got her up to 500 trophies. Is like I basically did that, uh, just over and over and over again, kind of like how I got my Nita up this similar way, because they both in Gym Grab have pretty much the same role. It's just aggro and keeping away, and so I learned how to do that role, and then I just got them both up just in Gym Grab, just doing that over and over again. She's good for like clearing away in like walls or something in Brawl Ball or something, like to open up the way for you to get your ball. And I think that's people don't do that enough sometimes, is being able to like we'll be setting up our team comp and then we won't have somebody who has the ability to clear away the walls, and or at least like a thrower to use the walls to your benefit instead of just having them stay as an obstacle. And she's definitely good for that. She's good counter to tanks again. A lot of tanks like to play Brawl Ball. The Franks, the amount of Franks, Bulls, Daryls that are in it are pretty good. She also counters Mortis at the same time, which Spike sometimes has difficulty if he's already used a couple of his attacks and Mortis comes to get him. His health is so low that it can sometimes be difficult. Whereas Shelly, she just has so much health and her reload speed is so fast that it's not really a problem for her. So she counters Mortis as well, which is also an option for Brawl Ball. She has the range to be able to hold her own. At least, like if you're facing a cult in an open area, I would definitely suggest to like get to a wall and use it to your benefit, or get to a bush and be able to like have a big enough bush to be able to like juke him out with where he doesn't know where you are. Um, but like she can still hold her own, especially if all you need to do is like stall or something, like the timer in Gym Grab or something's running out, or your your buddies like going around to get Brawl Ball or the heist trophy. Like heist, the amount of health on the heist is almost enough. um I mean, I wouldn't suggest using Shelly in heist. Probably not the best option. Like there's so many other brawlers who have the range and the health and like can do it. Like even the like Bull is used a lot. I think Shelly, she just doesn't have, I don't know, the dynamic nature. I mean, you could definitely like at 500 trophies be able to play her in heist, but it would definitely be a little more tricky than just playing a bull and being able to run right to the heist thing, or like a primo and jump, or even like a 8-bit or a Colt and just shoot at it. Like sometimes those are a little more high DPS, high usability, and sometimes it can like it wouldn't be the best option for that. Those are just some recommendations I would do over Shelly in Heist. In Bounty, she can definitely be useful. If you have a map like Layer Cake that's kind of closer, you can definitely use her. I just don't. You would want one. I would say you would want a brawler with more range. She can be there to counter the mortises, which pop up a lot in a map like Layer Cake. But I would choose one with more range. So say Dynamite has a ton of range. Barley has similar amount, but he's more long form type. I would definitely choose him. Like if we were doing heist or bounty, I would definitely do Barley for heist and Dynamite for bounty if I had to, like, if there was an option. But there's both they both are usable for the same reasons because they have that dynamic range. Um, they also or like Piper on a long map, which a lot of bounty maps are longer, and so Shelly would not be the best option because there's not enough bushes, or there's not it's not the right option. Um, again, Mortis pops up a lot because he both counters Piper, Dynamite, Spike sometimes if the Spike player doesn't know what he's doing. Sometimes she could be theoretically useful in that situation. But like sometimes just like if you have a bow, like he would counter Mortis most of the time. A Spike, if he knows what he's doing, he could. Um, Colt, Brock all have high DPS. Mortis, a good Mortis could definitely figure a way around that because their health isn't as much as say Shelly's is. But I would prefer if I were choosing at 500 plus trophies, I would definitely go for the Brock or the Colt rather than the Shelly in those situations. I don't think I've ever played with Shelly in Bounty or Heist. You know, recently at least. Like I always I have all the brawlers, and so like I have so many options, and Shelly is just not one of them that's on the list. Um, Now, whenever it comes to takedown is a dynamic map. It's a game mode because you want a high DPS. Personally, I've never played takedown with Shelly, but I can see how it can be useful, and I have played against a lot of Shellys that they definitely got above me because they were able to maneuver and get the damage. The biggest thing with takedown in general is just you want to be able to stay alive and do as much damage as possible. I typically stay away from shotgun brawlers and takedown in general, just because you have to be so close to it, and so it not only is hard for you to maneuver around the attacks sometimes because you're so close. Some all the other times, if you are able to, giant robot just punches you, and you're losing health and you're reducing your ability to stay alive just because you have to in order to attack, like get good damage. So I definitely, my personally would not use her for takedown, but I could definitely understand if you're willing to take the risk and if the reward outweighs the risk of dying so soon. You could totally do it. Me personally, I'll just use Colt or EMZ or someone easy who I can get high damage but also stay a distance away. Um, and typically, what I try doing is putting enemies in between me and the robot so that I have to shoot them in order to shoot the robot. It gets them out of the way, gets you a couple power cubes if you can get to them, and you do damage to the robot. If you have someone, especially if you have someone like Poco or EMZ who you blast right through, or Terra, who you have that ability. Uh, Going back to Shelly and Lone Star, she can. It's basically like a showdown. Same basic principles. Use bushes. Let the brawlers come to you. Try and juke them out. I think bushes are definitely sometimes underrated, especially at lower trophies. I'll notice like people don't appreciate the full value of bushes. They're probably one of the most important mechanics like in the game because like their information is power, basically. And if your enemies have no idea where you're at, you have such a better advantage, such a better ability to defeat them. That's why checking bushes is so important, and why if you're out in the open as a bull, that's not good. As it's not good for a lot of reasons. But one of the things that makes Shelly such a dynamic brawler is that she is able to be out in the open, and she has an easy ability to be able to, well, keep back, keep her distance, stay away from like the Colts and stuff because she knows sometimes where they're at, and then be able to check a bush real quick from a distance, and then if it's clear, run right in and be able to stay safe. She's so good at like, if you're in a map and you're at a loss, to be able to find that sweet spot, find the bush, find that little corner in the wall, and be able to camp there for a little bit. If you're on like in bounty in like the harvest, I think it is, or something, just all bush. She is probably one of the best brawlers for that map whenever it comes to bounty. I guess I forgot to bring that up. Because like she's a tank killer. If say the enemy had a Frank and like a Shelly, and they had cleared out this open area just from doing their supers over and you doing yours, and you're in the middle of it, that Frank's gonna come at you because you're out in the open, and so you can be, oh, whoa, pick him off at a distance, run to safety, check a bush real quick. Your reload speed is really fast, so like checking these bushes aren't that much of a downgrade on your, like, whereas with Terra, her reload speed takes so long that checking a bush is like taking off 1/3 of her damage output, because that's what it is. And if somebody is there and they were able to avoid and they come back, like you didn't do your checking right, um, and they come and get you, then you only are at 2/3 of your potential, and you don't want to be in that situation. Now, if you have your super, you're able to maybe weasel your way out of it. But in something like Showdown, like if you die, you're dead, and so that you're out. And that's not good, especially whenever you're trying to push, 60, 70, I mean, 600, 700, plus trophies. Like, that's not a good situation if you get in ninth place just because you didn't check a bush right. Um, Whereas with Shelly, you wouldn't be in that situation, because you just reload quickly. Even if you did mess up the bush check, like they were able to weasel their way around it, you still do boom, boom, and by the time you're ready to attack again, it's already reloaded, and so you're good to go. And then maybe by then you'll have your super, which typically happens if they're really up close. Like if you're against a bull and you do 2 attacks and then you're supercharged by um, but I definitely like Shelly. She's definitely a well-rounded brawler. She's like, I like to think of her as like, if you put all the brawlers together and it was one brawler, it would be her. Because she's just like, so she has the range. She's a shotgunner, so she's definitely good up close. She's able to hold her own. She has high health, high reload. She's like, she has a piercing effect. She destroys walls. She's like the entire package. And I definitely use her a lot. She's definitely one of my favorites. And early on, whenever I like first was getting into it, I definitely used her like all the time, like every other game. Like it was either her or Nita, or her or Colt, or her or Jesse. It was. She's definitely a good brawler, and even at high trophies, she's very useful, and very fun to use. But with all that being said, her star powers both very useful. I actually don't have Band-Aid, so I don't have a lot to say about it. I know I've gotten fought against Band-Aid. It's been really tough sometimes. Um, like, oh man, she's almost dead. I just need to do a couple more attacks, start playing a little aggressively because I know I'll take her out, and then Band-Aid, and I'm dead. So it's not a fun uh, uh, star power to go against, and I definitely would enjoy using it more often, other than like friendly games or challenges. Um, but and then her other shell shock, I definitely like it, especially if like I'm up against a Frank. Like not only will I be able to use my super to prevent him from doing his, because it just takes so long, but I'll also be able to like catch up to him and boom boom because he wants to keep a distance. Um, and so it's just a good one. Good overall star powers. I definitely like her as a brawler. Um, you know, purple hair is always a fun thing. But I suppose this episode's coming to an end. Thank you for joining me, the Big Baby Bear podcast, for the first one. I'm your host, Gopher, and catch you later.